And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Okay, well, for tomorrow, we've got a low that tonight will be coming northward across the Alaska Peninsula. And by tomorrow afternoon, we'll pull up into the northwest interior here. That'll bring strong winds in advance of the front across southern Alaska here with a high wind warning out again for the Anchorage area. Eastern Trinidad Island for gusts as high as 70 miles per hour late tonight through tomorrow. Another low, not quite as strong, coming up toward Kodiak Island, enhancing the wind and rain there again. High pressure keeps it nice over the Panhandle and also over the eastern interior. Out to the west, another system with gale force winds pushing eastward for Friday in toward the eastern Aleutians up toward the Pribilofs. So strong winds, heavy rain, Adak and Atka. And then drying out here, becoming nicer as high pressure builds into the southwest interior. Rain finally gets into the east side of the state and stays wet up here to the north, and it stays sunny and warm over the southeast coast. Coastal water forecast, west and northwest winds on the south coast tomorrow at 10 to 15 knots. And then east winds 15 to 25 knots for the north coast with seas up to 8 feet. And for Lynn Canal, south winds at 10, northwest at 10 for Stevens Passage, and about 15 knots out of the northwest for Clarence Strait. And light winds continue for the inside channels on Friday with northwesterlies about 15 knots for Clarence Strait, variable at 10 for the central and northern inner channels. Out along the south coast, though, northwest, 10 to 15 knots, seas 5 feet. Up here to the north, east to southeast, 10 to 20 knots with 6 to 8 foot seas. Still looking at some gale warnings in the forecast for Thursday for Prince William Sound. Out of the southeast at 35 knots with 9 foot seas. Small craft advisories for the North Gulf Coast. East to southeast winds, 25 to 30 knots, seas 8 to 10 feet. Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands, east-southeasterlies at 30 knots, seas up to 11 feet. And for Cook Inlet, northeast winds 15 to 25 knots, seas 3 to 5 feet. And then for Friday, northern Cook Inlet here, small craft advisory, south winds 30 knots, seas 6 feet, southwest at 20 for the southern inlet area. And now westerlies for Kamishak Bay, small craft advisories for west winds 25 to 30 knots for the Barren Islands of Kamishak Bay. North Gulf Coast, south to southwest, 20 to 30 knots. Small craft advisories for Prince William Sound, southeast winds at 25, and those seas coming down to 6 feet. Kodiak Island, south to southeast winds tomorrow, 25 to 30 knots, seas up to 12 feet. Alaska Peninsula, northwest winds 20 to 25 knots, seas 4 to 7 feet. And Bristol Bay, west at 20 with 6 foot seas. Those will turn southwest at 20 for the bay on Friday with 5 foot seas. And then small craft advisories for the Alaska Peninsula, south winds increase 25 to 30 knots. And then for Kodiak Island, west winds at 20 to 25 knots. Eastern Aleutians tomorrow, winds northwest at 20 to 25 knots. Adak and Atka, lighter winds, west at 15 knots. And then winds increasing west of Amchitka Island, south increasing 25 to 35 knots. And then on Friday, we'll see good gales advance across the entire Aleutian chain. For the western Aleutians west of Adak, looking at south to southeast winds 30 to 40 knots with seas up to 16 feet. And for Adak and Atka, south winds 40 knots, seas 16 feet. And for the eastern Aleutians as well, those south winds increasing throughout the day to 40 knots with seas building to 6 to 13 or 15 feet. And for the southwest coast there, northwest winds tomorrow 20 to 25 knots. St. Lawrence Island and Norton Sound, northwest at 20 knots, southwest 20 for the Pribilof Islands, northwest at 15 for St. Matthew Island. And for Friday, Norton Sound, west wind 15 knots, Yukon Delta coast, St. Lawrence Island, west at 10, 2 to 4 foot seas. Much windier down toward St. Matthew Island, winds out of the east at 30 knots. Good gales for the Pribilof Islands, south winds 40 knots, seas 11 feet, and 25 knots south winds for the Kuskokwim Delta coast. And up along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast tomorrow, east winds 20 knots, seas 4 feet, northeast winds 15 to 20 knots for the central and western coast. Small craft advisories for the Chukchi Sea for north to northeast winds at 25 knots, with those seas up to 11 feet, up to 9 feet. And then for Friday, We've got northeast to northwest winds for the Chukchi Sea at about 20 knots with 5 to 8 foot seas. And the western Arctic coast about the same, northeast at 20. Small craft advisories for the central Arctic coast, east 25 knots, seas 7 feet. And the eastern coast looking at east winds at 20 knots with seas 6 to 7 feet.